Okay. Welcome to the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. I'm Asif Badi, and today's topic of discussion is going to be Nick Sirianni and whether or not the guy deserves to be fired. Right, the guy's been on the hot seat now for about 3-4 weeks now. Right, people have been really talking about how anemic this offense and this team has looked over the past month and a half. And going into the playoffs, it's not good vibes right now. And it really just seems like the fan base and the NFL as a whole is starting to look at Nick Sirianni as the reason this team is faltering and limping their way into the postseason. And I can't say that I blame them for that, but there's a lot of things going on in Philadelphia. Nobody knows what it is, but a lot of stuff is going on. So today we're going to talk about if Nick Sirianni should be fired and potentially who could be the guy to replace him. Who's going to be the guy that's going to want to step in and take this job, right? Because that's another thing we have to consider. If you fire a guy like Nick Sirianni, who are you going to replace him with? So, a quick synopsis of what he's done as a head coach in the NFL. He's 34-16 in the regular season. He's gone to the playoffs all 3 years as a head coach for Philadelphia. And he's gone 2-2 with an NFC title game under his belt and an NFC title, NFC championship under his belt and a Super Bowl appearance. Okay. So we got to give him credit for that. Not many coaches get to a Super Bowl, albeit he had Shane Steichen and John Gannon as coordinators for that roster and for the team. And since they've left, the team has just not looked the same. It's a fair point. But he also took over a team that was 4-11-1 under Doug Peterson and then took them to a 9-8 record, again, albeit with Shane Steichen play calling, and got them to the postseason. And again, he brought the braggadocious, obnoxious, bombastic energy that just a year ago, everybody in Philadelphia was happy with. Everybody in Philadelphia was cool with. And I didn't hear any complaints about it last year. I didn't hear any complaints about his personality in the first 11, 12 weeks of the season when we were 10-1. But now all of a sudden, the guy's an asshole. The guy's a douchebag. He can't do this shit. Yeah. So, in that sense, if that's your criticism of Nick Sirianni, I'll tell you to go fuck yourself, because that is something I'm not going to critique the guy about. Be who you are. If you're a braggadocious douchebag, be a braggadocious douchebag. That's who you should be, because that's authentic and that's what we want out of any caricature, out of any person on the microphone, at a press conference, on the field, to be themselves. That's the whole point of being an individual, right? So let's not make that a critique. A fair critique of the guy, though, is the way this team has performed over the past month and a half. It's been utter dog shit, to say the least. This team has went from a top 2 seed in the NFC to the 5th seed, having to go on the road to Tampa Bay in a playoff game. We had the division in our hand, and we dropped the ball and lose it to Dallas. We were playing football at such a level last year. We knew there was going to be a drop-off, but to see the drop-off the way it is has been alarming. And for a coach who was hired as an offensive-minded head coach to have your offense look as dysfunctional as it does, it's incredibly alarming. The lack of communication with the play calling, with Brian Johnson to the field, the delay of games, the penalties, the dysfunctional route concepts, the antiquated route concepts, the fact that we can't even get our best players the football, the fact that we don't even commit to the run game as a philosophy when this team's built to run a power football game. And then the way the team comes out flat in terms of the second halves, where you have a lead and all of a sudden we lose the lead. We can't get a stop on defense. These guys have no idea what the fix is. What is the fix? That's the job of the head coach, and Nick Sirianni and this coaching staff has not been able to figure that out, and they look bewildered as to what to do. In that sense, you can say, hey, This guy just looks like he is not ready for the job. Now, I will say this again. In his whole tenure, he's won 36 games as a head coach, regular season and postseason. He has a Super Bowl appearance under his belt. Not many coaches can say that. Hell, Kyle Shanahan only has one Super Bowl appearance as a head coach. So, we could say all we want about Nick Sirianni. And again, it was with Shane Steichen play calling, but he was the head of the ship. And he was the guy that got them to the Super Bowl, right? We can't dismiss that. But we also have to acknowledge that it's been an absolute dumpster fire this month and a half. This defense looks terrible. And this offense, to me, while most people aren't blaming the offense, I think the root of all the issues in Philadelphia has been the play calling and this offense and the quarterback play. I think it's been terrible all year. It's not been what it was. And Nick Sirianni, you're an offensive-minded head coach. It's your job to get the offense to get back on track. And it hasn't, and nothing that he's done has addressed the offense. Now, there's some stuff where he's bringing in more motion, pre-snap motion, and trying to run the ball a little bit more to a degree. But the same issues every week are still the same issues every week. And there seems to be no fix. So, if that's the argument for saying Nick Sirianni deserves to be fired, and you feel that he's lost the team in that sense, I would say maybe that's a case to fire the coordinators, right? But the players seem to stand by him. The veterans seem to stand by Nick Sirianni. I don't think Sirianni is the issue in terms of the locker room. I feel like the locker room is just fine. I feel like the issue is the play calling and the preparation from the coordinators have been terrible. And whether or not you want to blame just the coordinators or if you want to group Sirianni into that, I guess that's two trains of thought there. Sirianni is not necessarily an X's and O's guy because he just wasn't hired for that. And all the critique about, what does he do well? He's been asked the whole time. Give me a break. There's plenty of coaches that don't do X's and O's stuff in the NFL. Dan Campbell in Detroit's not an X's and O's guy. What happens if he loses Ben Johnson, who's probably going to get a head coaching job this year? Is he going to look like dog shit? Who knows? Maybe. I don't know. But you know what? You take one of the best play callers in Shane Steichen and he walks out the door, and it's unfortunate. He deserves the head coaching job. And you start off 10-1 on the year with a new coaching staff, new coordinator, and all's good, but then all of a sudden there's a collapse. And to me, the game in Seattle is where I started to look back and I said, damn, I don't know if this guy deserves, now all of a sudden the hot seat turns a little bit hotter because that game in Seattle was anemic. Is it Sirianni's fault? Is it the quarterback's fault? Is it the coordinator's fault? Whatever it is, unfortunately, Sirianni is going to be the guy who's going to take the fall. And to me, on Monday night, if they don't win the playoff game, if they don't win in Tampa Bay, I think they're going to get rid of this coaching staff. I think Sirianni, Johnson, Desai, Patricia, they're all going to be out the door. And now all of a sudden, it comes up with this question here. If Sirianni is fired, and if you believe he deserves to be fired, who's the guy that's going to come in and replace him? Maybe Eagles fans are going to say, no, I want Ben Johnson to come here and coach this football team. He's going to get the offense back on track. Or maybe it's, I want Eric Bieniemy. He's in Washington right now. He's going to be up for a head coaching job. He deserves a chance. I want Mike McDonald. I want the guy in Baltimore to come in and fix this team. Maybe it's Bill Belichick. And for me, if you could agree to get Bill Belichick to just be head coach and not GM, because I think Howie Roseman has done a good job, despite what some fucking fans think in the Eagles fan base, all of a sudden now Howie Roseman's incompetent. Give me a fucking break. But as long as Bill Belichick agrees to be a head coach and run just football operations, and let the GM do his thing, I would sign up for Bill Belichick in a heartbeat. I really would. But again, until you have that guarantee, to me, Nick Sirianni, he's the guy right now. He's the best guy for the job. And you can say what you want. To me, if Sirianni retains his job, the easiest fix to do, in my opinion, is to go to Baltimore and hire Leonard Wilson, bring him back, and make him defensive coordinator like he should have been in the offseason. You see how Baltimore's defense looks. You see how their defensive backs look. It's night and day from what it was last year to when he was coaching us to what it is this year with Baltimore. But again, that's a different episode for another time. Sirianni, if he loses Monday night, I will have no ammunition left to defend Nick Sirianni. And at that point, he's going to be fired and probably take a bulk of the blame for what's gone on this offseason and this season thus far. Because it's been a train wreck. It's really, really been a terrible, terrible performance. And we got Monday night. Maybe the veterans wake up and muster up some pride and win the game. But until we see it on the football field, no one in Eagles Nation has faith in this team. Nobody. And unfortunately, it may just cost Nick Sirianni his job.